And I also was like exposed to musicians who were very like rightfully skeptical of my musical values and like really challenged me with my teachers and my peers. And in response to that, I was like, okay, well, like I need to figure out like my way of doing it. Like if I'm gonna write something in 4/4, it can't just be because I'm lazy. It needs to be because 4/4 is like the correct meter. If I'm gonna write a C major chord, like I have to earn C major, right? And that really pushed me um, to integrate, I guess, science. That was my way. That was like how I understand the world, right? Like I draw graphs, I draw equations. I use Excel to write a lot of my music, and I use it to the way an architect might like want to draw a curve or a building structure in a way that like they can't freehand it. So they use a ruler or a protractor or a compass. I use Excel as like my ruler to draw shapes, to draw musical shapes that I can envision, but I can't execute by hand. So, you know, you can imagine like, how do you crescendo instead of for 8 bars, which is like pretty reasonable. It's like, okay, your first 2 bars are pianissimo and then piano and then mezzo forte and then fortissimo or something, right? And you add instruments along the way, but so that's like kind of manageable. You can kind of figure that out. It's conceptual as like a unit. But how do you crescendo for like 8 minutes is not conceptual. It's not conceptualizable, right? You're like, that's not a unit. That's like a whole, that's not one breath. That's like a whole exaltation or something. So like, what does it mean to do that? And so I use like Excel to do that, and I do all this other stuff with the harmonies and whatever. And it's but while I was at Temple, I got involved with the graduate worker union there called TUGSA, the Temple University Graduate Student Association. And so when I first got involved, I thought it was like student government, but it was not. It was a labor union, which I had no experience in. I didn't really even know what a labor union was. But I thought it was cool. I wanted to make new friends. I wanted to get paid more. I was good at spreadsheets, and they needed someone good at spreadsheets. And so pretty quickly after getting involved, I ended up on the bargaining team. We bargained a contract, and it kind of sucked. And we decided, like kind of in the aftermath of ratifying like a pretty mediocre contract where we lost on some things that we didn't really want to lose on, that we were going to come back to the table in 4 years a hell of a lot stronger. And so we spent 4 years building a really strong union. And it really made me realize what the stakes really are. And so for me to make music now, when I'm not sure if my audience is okay, feels like really vapid and maybe like it's not something I'm interested in doing anymore. I make less music now than I used to, but I'm okay with that. Because when we do put something on, I feel very like connected to its purpose, and I feel like it's put on in a way that like even if my audience isn't okay, they can react to it in a way that either makes them better or contextualizes their misery in a way that's like okay. And that's something I'm like still figuring out how to do. And so in the aftermath of the strike and me having this kind of like epiphany about real stakes, I went away and did a artist residency in Oregon. It's this really lovely place, and it was very like it was very like this very posh experience. It was this very beautiful like ranch that does all this cool science and amazing people, and it was all very sophisticated, and I had access to like a tremendous amount of resources while I was there, and it's in this beautiful place. And I just felt like very disconnected from the people who were there to support me and the land that I was supposed to be making art about, because I don't live there. You know, this is like the 7th time I've ever seen mountains. I'm from Florida, right? Like what am I gonna do? I'm gonna be here for a month. I'm gonna look at these beautiful mountains, like write a pastoral symphony. Like, no, it's like still kind of COVID, and like people are dying, and like, and it just felt really gross to do that. And so then I started talking to the people who worked there, and I started doing these long form interviews with them about their relationship to the land and their relationship to food, because like the residency was kind of about food, and it really inspired me and kind of took me in this new artistic direction. And so now I kind of like took the lessons out of that and put them into practice. The following year, I went to Wyoming and did a residency at this little town in Dayton. It's called Dayton. It's just outside of Sheridan. It's right at the foot of the northern part of the Bighorn Mountains, and it's on this beautiful river called the Tongue River. And I went there explicitly with the intent to meet people in the town, interview them about their relationship with water and how their relationship has changed from when they were children to when they're adults. Because, you know, how deep the swimming hole is as a kid is only a source of anxiety about whether or not you can jump into it. How deep the swimming hole is as an adult is whether or not, you know, your cattle are going to die, or you're going to have enough water to, like, you know, take care of your newborn, or is it too high and there's going to be a flood, you know? And that led to like all these really interesting conversations and this beautiful time spent in the mountains and really kind of trying to connect with this river and be there. And so then building on that, I am here now making art about climate change, which is crazy making. It's really hard, I think, to do it. It feels like we're in a moment of like kind of global triage, or we ought to be. We're like hemorrhaging the future away. And maybe this isn't the most effective or efficient way to deal with it. And I feel like I'm morally breaking even because I'm also a labor organizer. So at least like, you know, I do some good work. But I think a lot about like how art can be something that exists in like a space of triage and like, and so what I'm doing here is a few different things. I've written a small piece called Lies We Tell Ourselves About the Future, which is using text that people recorded for me when I first got to the residency. We had this like kind of like welcome to Chestertown artist talk thing, and I invited people to come to my studio after and record themselves responding to a prompt. And the prompt is think about the year 2075. Who do you know will be alive then? What do you think the world will be like, and is that okay? And got like a pretty interesting and diverse set of responses. And so I'm setting the text of what people have said, like edited, so it's like more or less anonymized and to music, and that's actually what's behind me. So we're gonna be doing like it's for like a group ensemble, like flute, voice, cello that I'll be playing, and then my friend's gonna be playing both violin and melodica, but not at the same time probably. And the idea is everybody, I guess, asking the question, is that okay at the end, like led everybody to kind of putting like a neat little button on the end of their response that was like, you know, maybe it will be okay, or it probably won't be okay, but like I have hope or something. There's like everything kind of has this like structure as like a prayer, like a little amen at the end, right? And so I've set each those last kind of thoughts as prayers.